Okay, so hi everybody, good morning and thanks for having us here today to share our story with you. And we're going to be switching the microphone all the time, so I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, my name is John Van in Nieuwenhuizen and my business partner Vitor Santamaria, and we make up the newly formed brand Hidden. We represent the business philosophy of the product being the hero and the brand being the product, hence the name Hidden, as the brand and product are one and the same. Vitor and I originally met about 10 years ago while working for Motorola here in Milan, Italy. I'm now based out of San Francisco and Vitor is still based out of Milan. Originally, Vitor is from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I'm originally from Sydney, Australia.
So you guys must be asking, even though it was already explained, why we are here. As was told before, we're here to share our story on how we raised almost $1 million on crowdfunding on the website called Kickstarter.com. As you know, it's a crowdfunding website, and the amount was almost 8 times the amount that we originally requested to make this project, which is a little Bluetooth speaker and radio that we designed. People see the success that it achieved, even though it was made with almost like a homemade campaign. And everybody asked the same question, so how did you do it? We got this question coming from designers, from friends, from multi-million business leaders, as well as investors. And they still find it very hard to understand how we actually did it. And instead of just standing here pretending that we have a great secret on how to raise money, we prefer to just share with you the story on how we did it from the start, like from the concept all the way to production, and raised $1 million along the way. So.
We've worked on many businesses and created products for many corporations, and this has allowed us to very clearly clarify some simple goals that allow us to define our own business. This is very important for us as it keeps us focused on and stops us adding features that do not add any value to the business. The first is to create products that only we would own ourselves. If you love your own product, then there's a good chance a good percentage of the population will too. This is essentially our form of market research, no focus groups and no user surveys.
The next one is to minimize risk. Even though it seems very simple and almost obvious, it's very easy to overlook, especially in the initial phases of the development. Small changes done, well thought through and well done in the beginning can actually make a massive difference further on the process to minimize the risk.
Using the power of the web. Again, this seems like old news to use the power of the web, though it's still a very cheap tool and incredibly democratizing for a small business. With the right design skills, you can have a shop front that looks as slick and professional as the big guys on a very small budget.
And here's a little timeline on how we actually did it. Starting from concept, as you're going to see more in detail after, we went through web testing it. We developed the product almost until the final production and totally engineered. Then we got finally at that stage only the financing from Kickstarter, and now we are in the production phase, just as, right now. So, yeah, it's still me. No, it's you.
It's okay. All right.
Sorry.
So this whole story begins in Chicago in 2007. While working for Motorola, I was at home one weekend brainstorming on a concept for a speaker and radio. I sent the first sketch to Vitor in Milan to get his feedback, and we both loved the design. In fact, everyone we showed it to loved it. Each person couldn't think of anything to add or take away. With this, we really felt we had something special here, and this quickly became one of our favourite products we designed. As with a lot of designs created, it then sat on the shelf for another year while we thought about what to do with it. The following year, while on a business trip in Barcelona, we were working on a separate, purely web-based business. We were trying to come up with creative and cost-effective ways to get PR. That's when we remembered back to a talk that was given by Scott Wilson, a great designer and self-generating PR machine. He talked about his process and products he designed. At the end of the talk, people asked how he got his products off the ground and into production. And being an ex-Nike guy, his answer was simple: just do it. I think this was kind of annoying to the audience as they were expecting some type of secret formula for his success, though this really struck a chord for me and Vitor, as we were sick of hearing about people with brilliant ideas who did nothing about them. Scott would simply create a great rendering and send it off to the blogs and see if it got support. This was the case with his I Believe project. This started as a little bit of a joke and then was picked up by a manufacturer for production. He ended up selling a huge amount of these cross-inspired lanyards and raised a lot of money for charity. And to think this all started by simply putting a rendering on a blog in a similar way that we did.
So we did the same, basically. But in our case, we started more as a test, just to see how much response we could actually get from blogs. So we just took a few photorealistic renderings. We put together a very simple website, and we sent nice personal emails directly to the Core 77 blog and the Moco Loco, together with a little press release and a link to our website. The result was really amazing. The blogs were all over it, and it got linked into, it was featured on over 500 blogs. Actually, the traffic crashed our website at the time, and we got hundreds of orders from all over the world.
So we worked for around a year on different financial models. All we needed was either $100,000 or 1,000 pre-sold units to get it in production. We even had a web model of how to pre-sell the units. Though like many entrepreneurs, raising capital would always stop the product from becoming a reality.
At that point, we got invited to present the product here in Milan at the Salone in 2010. We're approached by many companies, but the most interesting for us and the most interested was actually Muji from Japan. They were very, very interested, and that gave us a very light perspective. And therefore, we spent the next year developing the product with dedicating our full time and also money from our own money to make the product a reality. We got it all the way ready for production, but then things started to slow down with Muji, as it happens often with big corporations that size, maybe because of the bureaucracy. We waited for a little bit, but then we started to grow a little impatient because we knew that we had the right business, we had the right product, and actually we had it proven already by the market. So that's when this little website called Kickstarter came along.
And Kickstarter really changed everything for entrepreneurs like ourselves. Kickstarter is a crowdfunding website where people place a project on the website, and if you like it, you can pledge money to help get it off the ground. The creator then offers rewards to backers, which may be in the form of the finished product once it's produced. We studied many videos and took many notes of what backers responded to. We felt the most important thing was to get their attention early. We created our video with a simple SLR camera, some of our friends as actors, and shot it in one day at a friend's home. We originally submitted our project to Kickstarter and it was rejected.
So we believe that this result was because even though we had a fully engineered product, we didn't communicate it properly to Kickstarter in the beginning. We focused maybe too much into the design aspects of the project, but we did not communicate that we were also ready to deliver, especially being a very complex device. A Bluetooth speaker is quite complex to develop. And this actually is a growing problem right now in all crowdfunding platforms, as shown on this graphic that was published by Core 77. Designers often come with the very nice concepts and ideas. They post it for funding, but they have very often as well very little idea of how much time, how much cost is going to take to manufacture it and bring it to production. Sometimes they don't even have the experience to make it happen, or the network to make it happen, which is very important as well. Knowing this, we were even more sure that we had the perfect product for Kickstarter because we already were pretty much ready to go. So we pumped up the 3D animations again. We did new photos, we did new videos. We put everything together in about a month.
So this time round, we made sure we ticked all the critical boxes in creating confidence in our project for both Kickstarter and the backers. And these were to provide developmental prototypes and full engineering know-how. The last thing you want to do is to have to continually refine prototypes when you have backers waiting for a product. Present an extremely polished and professional video. Every detail matters. You need to be as critical on the communication as you were on the original design itself. Present a product that can be easily communicated and is a noteworthy product for the blogs around the world. Like we found, we did some minimal advertising on Facebook, but all of our funds and money and people driven to our site was driven through the stories that were posted on various blogs around the world. And here's the final pledge video that we created.
Hey Kickstarter, I'm John, originally from Sydney, Australia, now based out of San Francisco.
And hi, I'm Vitor, originally from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, living in Milan, Italy for the last 18 years.
Around 5 years ago, we set about working on a Bluetooth speaker and radio. We wanted to create a simple, compact, and intuitive device that would require no instructions to use and would have a poetic story. That's how the hidden radio was born. In the face of overcomplicated electronic devices, the hidden radio bucks the trend. It is the world's simplest, most intuitive radio and Bluetooth speaker ever. You lift the cap to turn it on. The further you lift the cap, the more internal volume you create, and thus the volume gets louder, right up to over 80 decibels. That's easily big enough to fill the largest apartment and annoy the neighbours. When we created it, we felt we had something special, so we decided to test it on 2 websites, Core 77 and Loco. We received an overwhelming response that crashed our web.
So I'll interrupt here because this is just the pledging part and it's kind of more boring. So we launched the project on Kickstarter in November last year, and the campaign ended on the 18th of January. And during that period, we had basically a 2-step strategy to drive traffic to the Kickstarter project page. The first one was just through a social network, so via Facebook and Twitter, we just would create nice stories about the product and share it with our networks and spread the word out. After a couple of weeks, we started step 2, which simply consisted on sharing it with as many blogs as possible. And we would just write very personalized emails to individual blogs. And this actually showed to be a great way of getting press, which actually drove most of our funding. It's pretty incredible to see the power of these tech blogs these days. Just to give an example, when we got posted on the cultofmac.com, we basically raised $100,000 in 24 hours. pretty amazing. So.
So here are some interesting.
You'll be one of us.
Sorry about that.
So here's some interesting figures we wanted to share on the project. We reported on over 1,000 blogs. Our Facebook stories were viewed by over 250,000 people. The most popular day to get press is on Tuesday. It seems that after people arrive in the office on a Tuesday, the first thing they do is go shopping on the web. This was especially relevant for the US West Coast. We would always find that just after 10 a.m. we would get a massive spike in sales. Then when it would hit 12 p.m. for lunch, the sales would drop. Around 2 p.m. the sales would go up again when people returned to the office. And lastly, here is a graph summary showing the 60-day funding period of our project on Kickstarter.
As you can see, the large spike in the middle, that's actually when we got posted on the cultofmac.com. So anyways, here we are in April, fully funded, ready for production. And throughout this process, we learned a lot of lessons, which we would like to share with you guys and with the whole community. And maybe it's going to help like the next generations of entrepreneurs and Kickstarters as well as crowdfunders. So the first lesson is actually the proof of concept. Make sure that you have your project well prototyped and tested before you submit to any crowdfunding platform. This is very important also to maintain and establish your credibility. You don't want to lose it. So,
instant gratification. A lot of backers these days really have no idea of the time and development costs required to bring a product to production. Be clear and transparent in your communication. Even if some people back out, in our experience, even if there was a feature we couldn't deliver on, if we communicate this in a transparent way prior to the pledge time ending, consumers would usually stay with the project and not leave.
the next one is to always budget at least 3 times for time and 3 times for cost, because as we all know, there will always be problems rising up that we didn't foresee. And it's very good to have a good buffer of money and time to solve these problems.
Share knowledge. This is one we're extremely passionate about. So many people seem to think they need to be extremely secretive about their ideas before launching. And yeah, it's important to protect an idea through a patent. Though once that's done, there is much more value in being open about your product and progress to your peers in order to gain valuable input, advice, and even inspire the next generation. We found by experience through an open sharing of knowledge, you'll increase your network, get great advice, and generally the good gesture will give you a 3-fold of positive results.
The next one is to develop a thick skin. This is actually very important for any public funding project, because people will comment on every little aspect and every item of your project and even of yourself. So it's important not to take it personally. And there will be even a small percentage, very small percentage, but that will be extremely impatient and will consume a lot of your time. So it's very important to keep that in mind. Although, on the other hand, you know, the great majority of the backers, they're actually very encouraging. They've been brilliant throughout the whole process. They're just happy to be part of the project, you know.
The 24-hour workday. At the moment, we've managed to develop, like many people have, a 24-hour workday. Basically, I'll wake up in San Francisco and work with Vitor during his afternoon here in Milan. Then when he goes to bed in the afternoon, I'll work with Asia until the evening time. Then in the evening, Vitor wakes up, continues working with Asia until the morning, and then I go to bed and we wake up and do it all again. And it's kind of an exhausting process, but it's also very efficient, and it's helped us maintain a very quick product development cycle.
So that's pretty much it, and thank you very much for letting us share our story with you here today. And
so we're happy to take any questions. He can answer the Italian ones, I'll answer the English. Yeah, I mean, the whole sharing thing, you know, there's two sides to this. Obviously, you know, you don't want to be naive and stupid and just say, hey, everyone, look at what I've got and feel free to take my stuff. But at the same time, like, you know, we have some frustration, like, you know, a lot of people come to us, well, I've got this and that, but they're so secretive about it. And they're like, I'm not going to show you anything until you sign an NDA. And we're like, you know, honestly, I don't care. You know, and I don't know, I think it's a balance. And I don't know, at least for us, you know, again, not without being naive, we've been open. We've got a good group of colleagues that we can bounce stuff off. We trust them. And, you know, to be honest, if someone does want to steal it, they're going to steal it some way or another. And you got to have the money to go up against them, which you probably don't have like us. So it's like, okay, fine. You know, what's going to happen anyway, you know?
Exactly. Publishing it on blogs even amplifies this risk, doesn't it?
Sure, but it also amplifies the potential of you making money off it. So I find the upside is way more powerful than the downside.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you can answer how we met.
Well, we met, when was it, 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago here in Milan. We're both working for Motorola. I was working already, and then John joined the office here. We had a satellite studio here in Milan. And yeah, we worked together for another 2-3 years. No?
Mm-hmm.
And then, John moved to the US. I stayed in here because I was here already, so I kind of kept staying. And yeah, we kept in touch since then. You know, then there was also finally internet after. I mean, it was already happening at that time, but yeah, I know I look young, but I'm kind of old. You know, so. Yeah, and then we just kept in touch since then. We were working together remotely, and I mean, thank God there's Skype and stuff. And that's pretty much it. So we travel just to finish. I mean, we normally do back and forth. Like John comes here, I go there, pretty much. So we see each other pretty often, because even though with Skype, I mean, I think like working together. Sometimes it boosts a lot the work, but I mean many things we learn to work like super well remotely. Sorry, you had that.
And
It's 90%. Well, maybe not that much.
It's more like about probably based on the other stuff, it's about 50-60% US.
Yeah, US.
Then France is pretty big. For this project, Germany was pretty massive.
Yeah.
Obviously we got a few Australians and Brazilians because we're Australian.
Nordic countries also are pretty strong. I think they
Yeah.
also have a more open mind mentality for putting money on something that they're not sure they're gonna get. So I think this is pretty much the issue overall. I mean, it's pretty much like US is more than half, and then you have the rest of the world together summing it up. And I think it's...
Did you get anything from Italy?
Yeah, we got also from Italy. A little bit, but I mean, not so much, but we got also from Italy, yes.
Yeah, no, it's funny because as we've learned, like we've done a few different businesses together, and we've even involved third parties and consultants and so on, and we've learned that it's worse than a marriage because they hold your money. Well, maybe marriage is the same, but I don't know. But anyway, basically our philosophy is we fight a ton, and that's actually kind of what makes things powerful. Like we always we fight. And then the product gets better because of that. And we're very open communication, so we never leave a call until we've resolved the conflict. Yeah. And if I've worked with other people where these conflicts build and fester over days, and it's like, what the hell? And then it becomes a mess you can't resolve. But I think for us, because we're not afraid to swear at each other and abuse each other, it resolves very quickly.
But there's also something to say about that. May I just compliment? Is I think one thing that is really key to work well together, my opinion at least, and do let me know what you think. But it is two things, especially when you're running a business. Is first to respect. You need mutual respect between the two people or more people, and the second thing is to not take it personally, because we're together in the same boat, and we're definitely looking at success together. So many people, and that happens very often with designers, being one, I know that many times we fall in love with our own idea or something. So you need a little bit to detach from that. It's important to have passion, but it's important also to remain objective and also understand that you're in the same boat and you're both looking at success. Maybe you have different points of view, but you actually, I mean, you're well intended and you want to achieve the best possible. So I think this is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Obviously we're both designers and we love design, especially we're here for Salon and looking at all the cool stuff. But our whole goal with our business is to do what's right for the business. And it's like even with design decisions, we've got the skills to create great designs, but always it's what's the business model, and are we aligned with that business model? Yeah, absolutely. Both Vitor and I, we've worked for Motorola, HP, Palm, Whirlpool, and we've shipped a whole bunch of products, some niche products, some millions and millions of units. And the good thing about the corporation is whereas when you're in a consultancy, you don't have it as much. You get to follow the project right from the inception, right through to shipping, and then all the problems with returns and how to fix the returns. So you see every part of the business and the pain and costs that comes with it, as well as the meeting with the customers and understanding how to sell into big box retailers. You see every part of that. The downside, and for us it's been a great lesson, is the wastage that happens in a big corporation. You've got like some guy who's PR. All right, it's his job to be PR, so he's going to go spend $3 million on PR that's completely useless. But as long as he's spending the money, he feels he's doing his job. Mm-hmm. We're not complete tight with our money, but we're very smart in the way we spend it. And we work with a great ODM that is very cost effective, and we don't have any incredible deals. We don't do any tooling and amortization. We pay for it all up front, but it's very sensible, the whole development. And it's I don't know. We've learned a lot about how not to waste money with the big companies.
Yeah, just to give a quick example, when we were at Motorola, I mean, just to talk about the wastage, which for us actually worked pretty cool because it was a dream job here in Milan. It didn't make a lot of sense business-wise for Motorola to have like a satellite office here in Milan. They spent around 3 million euros to open the studio, and it was open only 3 years. 2 years with the full office, because we were like 2 years in a provisory location. But I mean, this is just one example. I mean, we have like 2 CNC machines that we never used, and so on. All this. I mean, it was great and it was actually a dream job. But I mean, in the back of our minds, we were like, yeah, but it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, absolutely.
All the projects were developed in the U.S., so actually we would be constantly in business trips there. I spent when I was there. At least 6-7 months a year, like in the U.S., with engineers working. So, but still, I mean, it was great fun. So
yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, no, it wasn't so much that we weren't real people. And I think people had a fair amount of confidence that we could ship the product, with all the prototypes and everything. I think the biggest thing was what we call the backseat driving. It's like when people said, "Oh, why don't you add this feature? Why don't you add that feature?" And we made the mistake of listening too much, and we started like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, well let's listen to them." We added all these things, and then they're like, "Yeah, all right," and then we realized those things we couldn't do, so we had to back out of our word. But in the end of the day, some of the things we did add made it a better product. Yeah. But there's a lot of people that think they know better than you, and they like talk about doing airplay is super easy. Like we're like, well, we're trying to ship this thing in July, and they're like, no problem, and you just have no idea of what it takes to develop a product, and like to go through those people who are product designers to go through tooling. We just finished cutting the steel, and we're going to be shipping in about 3 or 4 months. That's an extremely compressed life cycle, but as a backer, they're like, what, 3 or 4 months? Like, what the hell is taking so long? So I think it's the naivety of the backers, but for every one complaining backer, there's literally about 100 who are like sitting quietly right behind you. And I think, that really stressed us out and gave us a lot of grey hairs, having to listen to being beaten down each day. But then you get people coming on saying, incredible what you're doing, I'm kind of living vicariously through you, and that kind of really kind of lifts your spirit. Sure. So we worked on a deal with Muji, I'm not sure going into the royalty versus supply.
No, I think we didn't have anything.
Yeah, we're working on something with them and to supply the product into them, and they were making a lot of decisions based on price that we didn't agree with, but of course, we still wanted to produce it, and technically the project's still open with Muji, but they were just all their measures, like everything was moving along. There's some Bluetooth thing they still wanted, which we didn't provide, so it was just many steps, and we could have gone to a big company, but it wasn't our passion, we wanted to produce it ourselves to some level.
It's much cooler this way, no?
And it's way harder, everyone who comes to us and they're got a product, I'm always the same. I'm license it to a company, use their distribution and everything, license it. This is a little bit of an anomaly. You can't always create a project that does so successful. It's far beyond our expectations, and now we have many distributors begging for the product, but you can't always predict that.
Yeah, and I think also in this case was a little bit different, because when you actually sell it to a company, I believe it's easier when you have a concept or something that is not fully developed. We had a fully developed product. It was totally engineered, because Muji, we basically developed it for a year ourselves, from our own pocket, and putting a lot of time. And again, thank God the corporation were there, because we could actually do it. But it was tough. But we had a fully developed project there, and at this point it's just easier for us to manufacture. And this is also something we wanted with Muji. We're talking, as John mentioned before, we're discussing a lot. We wanted to manufacture, because working for royalties is normally the standard, but it's, unless you're really lucky or you really get a super mass production, you get a good deal, you're not going to do a good business. It just doesn't pay off. And we have more fun also like that. So.
What's next?
What's next? We have a few projects, a few ideas that are in the pipeline, but right now we're focusing on making this business work and being profitable first. We have a few stuff already kind of on the line, but the next few months we're going to be concentrating on making this whole machine work. We're planning to start selling them online and everything after we release all the Kickstarter units.
Yeah, and I think it's actually a good question. Kind of when we talk to designers, that's the first question. Well, what's the next product, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm very excited, to do the next product. But Vitor is much more on the business side. It's we're setting up, a distribution model through our website. Automatic distribution. Our order fulfillment, and all these elements can make the business so much more lucrative. They also are, like that graph showed, they're 90% of the business. So right now it's we've got things on the pipeline kind of moving along in the background, but by far the most important thing is the overall business design model.
Yeah, which is also lots of fun.
Yeah. So we have kind of three models. Obviously, we'll be shipping directly from our website, and we're partnering with a global order fulfillment company. So we have units in Los Angeles, UK, Hong Kong, so they can ship from anywhere in the world. And then the second part is the boutique resellers, kind of High Tech in Milan. We'll be selling into those guys, and that's going to be a lot of personal relationships. And then the third part is the larger distributors, and that's been the most amazing thing with Kickstarter, is that these guys have come looking for us, so we've got them lined up, so they're going to be the channels we start off with.
Is there any way we can...
Kickstarter is providing for you with the visibility on the big commercial.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's kind of, like if we walked into the doors of someone and said, hey, look at this, they'd be like, well, I don't know if it's really going to sell, but to have the proof there is perfect. And it's like, okay, there's not even a question anymore. Yep, if you go to, was it Domus tonight?
Domus, yeah. Tonight, no. Tonight is it's invite only. They told me not to spread the
So don't come.
But, no, I'm kidding. No, but it will be in Palazzo Clerici. There will be an exhibit with a few Kickstarter products. We got invited to go there, and so it's in Palazzo Clerici. I think it's in the center. No, I guess.
Yeah.
So starting tonight, from tomorrow on, it's there. So. Any other
there are
questions?
no other questions. You can share them on now if you want.
Yeah, we shot a few beers after.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.